All right, it is a continuation. We had a battery go bad and a card fill up, and it's January 4th, 2019. We are continuing. This is part 2 of number 30, Karma. And after reading discussion on karma and what could ramification, how is it acceptable for someone to view someone as truly being evil, and the some of the allowances that heaven does have that kind of supersede the basic karmic reality or expression, if you will, whereas one's own actions, and energies and thoughts and deeds and everything, will usually, come back and slap them aside the ass. Nobody has to do that. Nobody has to, enter into the whole, blaming and damning someone to hell, because that just clogs up your own personal karma, and it doesn't it doesn't help the other person, which 99.99999 almost to infinity will have an opportunity to redeem themselves. But we're going to get into some finer points where for that 0.00001% of beings that the Creator and some of His helpers, if you will, have ways to deal with something or some being that is doing nothing but making their environment and the universe that they reside in, the sector or what have you, a living hell. And what happens then?
Okay.
So pick it up.
We're going to take the word judgment and throw it aside. We're going to use the word discernment. Anytime we try to judge another person, even though we may think they deserve every bit of it, and they might, we end up damming up our own progress as well. You cannot damn somebody else without damning yourself. It cannot be done. Sorry, I know you don't want to hear that, but that's the way it is. Love it, loathe it, deal with it. That's the way it is. If you damn someone else, you damn yourself. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve better. Now, given an example like a Hitler, someone like that who obviously shows no remorse and no intent of improvement or turning around to the light, so to speak, that being doesn't get sent to hell. That being is hell. And as such, it can be shredded into, I would say, particles or bits and pieces, however you want to put it, that can be used in other projects. In the Bible where it says a soul can be consumed in hell, well, if something's consumed, it's not there to burn in hell forever. It's burned up, gone, poof, done away with. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It means it no longer exists as a cohesive, coherent entity. And so the bits and pieces that make it up can be used in other projects. As I said, God is not wasteful. Now, living this earth life, we tend to want to think that someone who does something horrible should be punished. And it's punishment because that gives us a feeling of security if they're being punished. That's that need for security based on the false god of fear.
Well, these days people call it justice.
I know, and they're
Yeah.
wrong.
Everybody's looking for justice, and
And they're wrong.
well, I'm just let me just state what it is, and you can extrapolate. But the idea that I see all the time, I think that if I have it correctly, the bumper sticker I see a lot is there is no, you'll have no peace without justice, and this whole desire and need for justice, I think is just another workaround for oh gosh, what's the word for?
Judgment?
What's the other
Punishment?
Well, like that. Oh, jeez.
Retribution.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't think of the word, but yeah, those all fit. It starts with an R.
Karma. Retribution, I would say.
When you're trying to, Anyway, you get the idea, guys.
The thing is, these are limited ways of thinking. They are limiting ways of thinking. They get us to see ourselves as less than we are, and to act as less than we are. And they're another brick in the wall between us and God. I'm not saying when a person does something horrific, like hurting an animal, or like hurting another person, or ruining the environment, or manipulating people into doing things they want, like it happens a lot in our society because of dark forces within a secret part of our government.
There's a lot of damaged people out there.
Yeah.
That from their own personal lives, they were, they were tortured or abused, and some of these people, that's all they know. People are born into, literally born into, some of these, satanic, groups, and they do, the same, just about the same things that are kids.
Yep.
That they do to other people, short of, killing them. And sometimes they end up sacrificing their own kids too. So, there's a lot of, and we know this, from all the people that have gotten out of these lives and that have written books about it. So, there's a lot of that going around.
Okay. Now we can become so totally fixated on this that we give up who we are. Or we can understand that these people are going to end up, I call them asswipes, I won't even call them people, end up with a hell of a lot of lessons to have to work on, and a lot of forgiveness that they're going to have to be asking for when they're ready to. Can't be forced. And if they don't do that, then they are hell. Now, think about it this way. You want your car to keep going. You keep putting fuel in the tank, right? What happens if you stop putting fuel in the tank of your car? Sooner or later, the car will keep going for a while, but sooner or later, it'll coast to a stop because there's nothing more to fuel it to keep it going. People who are hell, asswipes who are hell, have cut themselves off from the fuel they need to keep going. And so sooner or later, what we call their souls will run out of go juice, run out of the fuel it takes to keep them going. They won't exist anymore. They will be spread into other projects that God will use and take, if there was anything at all good about them, that can be used in other projects. God is not wasteful. And like I said, since I'm teaching the concepts of keys, I cannot simply represent myself. Because I'm with the rest of you. Somebody who hurts an animal, I want that person in jail. I want them in hell. I want them out of the gene pool because we don't need them. But the fact is, they're the ones who are going to do it to themselves. It may not be as fast as we want to see it. Should we be able to stop somebody from hurting someone else? Certainly. Certainly. But the hell is something they're determining for themselves. If you saw a child being molested, I would hope you wouldn't stand back and say, well, I guess that's that child's karma to learn something from this. I'm just not going to do anything. I would hope you wouldn't do that. I would hope you would put yourself between the child and the molester.
Yeah.
And then call 911 and have the molester, taken to prison. It's not up to you to kill that molester or to send their soul to hell. They're already hell.
And let me just say something too.
Okay, well, this is going to be the end for me for this afternoon, but I'm going to head out for a minute and you go ahead and speak.
Okay.
Here you go.
I just want to add one thing to it too. There's a lot of churchianity people out there that do a lot of this judging and look at karma the wrong way. And I want to set the record straight about this idea that you hear so much. People that come into the world with some sort of birth defect, that it must have been their karma. They must have been bad people. Well, that's complete bullshit. That is very rarely the case, and it certainly isn't anyone's job to believe or to judge them. More often the case is you have souls that come into the world that want to offer and have experience in maybe not such a mainstream way. There are a lot of blessed, beautiful souls, for instance, that come in with various types of mental defects, learning challenges. I don't know if the term is still exactly the clinical one they use, but they say mongoloid children. And the truth of it is that most of these kids, if not all of them, are actually very blessed, good, sweet souls. And they choose a life, they choose to be born in to this life as they do, because they don't want to be a part of all the craziness. Their soul sees what's going on, and they want to approach it from a different standpoint. And that standpoint is they just want the things to be very simple, unfettered, and what they do, and you notice these kids, they're always so joyful and so caring and so innocent. And that's because they really are. And their blessing to everyone that's around them is to teach them that love. Very much the way animals do. Our pets do. It teaches this unconditional love and what's that is like, in action. And, for the people that are, that have a heart to see, ears to hear, they will learn this. They will recognize it, and they will bestow upon these people, these kids, the homeless. I mean, you name it. And any people that are outside of society. the norm and the ideal, which is such bullshit. But they will see the beauty that these kids have to offer, and what they're showing, and what their life's about, and they will learn from it, and treat them with the same respect and love and care that they would anybody else in their life or that they come across. That's what we need to know and learn. All right.